Big Ben studio with our producer Tony Corelli to interview the legend, the icon, the greatest tour manager ever, Bud Becker. How you doing, Bud?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for that intro. And I tell you what I'd like to do. I'd like to talk a little bit about Bon Jovi, if
Now,
you wouldn't mind.
I have a picture that you gave me of Bon Jovi, and this is at the Capitol Center,
Right.
where Cinderella had opened up for Bon Jovi.
Yep, that's it. I tell you, in that picture, there's John Bon Jovi, Richie Sambora. My wife is in the red jumper. My daughter is down in front. That's Rhiannon. And then if you go up there I am in the upper corner. And that was at the, as I said, it was at the Capitol Center. The Cinderella was opening for the band. Now, how I got to that point, what happened was, let's go back to 87. In 87, one of the principals of rock and roll was Doug Thaler. Doug managed Scorpions. Doug managed Motley Crue. And what happened is Bon Jovi came along. Doc McGee was managing Bon Jovi, and they combined. So you had a McGee Entertainment with Bon Jovi, Motley Crue, Scorpions, and actually along the way, Sebastian Bach was the lead singer, young kid. He just turned 18, and he was the lead singer for Skid Row, and McGee Entertainment, Steve Pritchard, called me, and we were starting to talk, and said, "Hey, can you do us a favor and put Skid Row on?" We were doing Kicks at Easter as the opening act for Kicks. So I said, sure, we did. And we did. And that was the beginning of Skid Row. Now, also, we go back, how did I get involved with all Bon Jovi for sponsorship? I got a phone call from Doug Thaler, and this is like mid-'67, and we'd known each other for years. Doug was an agent at ATI at one time, and he was my agent. So Doug calls, and, hey, what is going on? He said, John is doing great. He had hit records, Living on a Prayer, Wanted Dead, or you know them all. Yeah. But Rockpile, who their claim to fame was putting groups together with corporate sponsorships. And Doug said, hey, we got a call from Rockpile. And I said, yeah. And he said, they want to do a feasibility study on John Bon Jovi to see if he is suitable for corporate sponsorship. I said, yeah. And they want $10,000 to do the feasibility study. I said, hey, and he said, what do you think? I said, I think I'll do it for a percentage, because I knew at that point, if I called a corporate sponsor, like Heineken Beer, and says, hi, I could speak to somebody in promotion, and this is Bud Becker. If I would never get a call back. But if I said, hey, this is Bud Becker, I'm representing Bon Jovi, we're looking into the feasibility of corporate sponsorship, and could I get through to the corporates? Boom, I'm in. And that's what happened.
Yeah.
So I got all of these people, and the deal, you've got a copy of the contract.
Yeah, here's the contract right here, signed by you.
Right. In that contract, if you look down one of the paragraphs, we agreed on 12.5%. If I got anything corporate-wise that it came through, if it was like, say, $100,000, I would get 12.5% of that money. And I really was not interested in particularly the money. What I was interested in was getting through to all these corporate sponsors to accumulate something that I could use possibly later on. So that's what started this. I did like maybe 20 plus corporate sponsors, people, and I got through to everybody. Boom. But then along the way, I was checking on cigarettes. And in the process of Lorillard cigarettes, which had Kent cigarettes, the micronite filter, I don't know if you remember. And so this was, right at that point. And I talked to Lorillard, and I called Steve, and I got Lorillard, the guys, passes to one of the shows, and it had happened to be one of the Motley Crue shows. And the guys went nuts and called me back and wanted to get involved with corporate sponsorship for the bands, which they were promoting Harley Davidson cigarettes. They were test marketing, and they wanted to put test marketing Harley Davidson with the Motley Crue.
Interesting.
And also, I had dealt with, started with condoms, and I had these, they had Sneaky Pete condoms, but before that, they had Steve from Texas. He was from out of Texas. He had put together these rubber ducky that was condoms. And it was really successful. The rubber ducky. But he had Sneaky Pete he wanted to bring out, and we talked, and he thought it would be a great idea to tie in Sneaky Pete as a condom. And I had structured a deal where they would give Steve from Rubber Ducky, now Sneaky Pete, we 50%. So this was, we could have made some real money with that. And I'm excited. I called Doug up and says, hey, I've got this Sneaky Pete condom. They're willing to give 50%. Here's what we want to do. And I had a promotion with a scrim with the logo on it. I had the idea of taking the Sneaky Pete condoms, and on the encore, we'd have cannons on the front of the stage loaded with condoms, solo condoms, and we'd fire them off and shoot the crowd if anybody wanted.
That's hilarious.
That's what. So I had all this.
That's hilarious.
And I called Doug in New York, and I said, hey, I got this and this and this and that. And Doug, instead of what I expected to say, oh man, that's great. He said, hey, I was in Florida at a conference at the time. he said, I want to come down and see you. I said, great. I'm thinking we're going to put this deal together and everything's going to be. Anyway, so Doug flies into, I guess it was Fort Lauderdale where the convention is. And in those days, they had the airport. You got maybe limos, but if you didn't get limos, you got a Hertz. You landed, you rented a Hertz, and you went wherever you needed to go, So Doug gets to my hotel, and hey, we do the glad hand, and he said, let me go down, take you to lunch. So great. So we go in the hotel, we sit down, order lunch, and then Doug breaks it to me. He says, hey, I wanted to come down here and tell you face to face. Didn't want to use the phone. Mm-hmm. He said, we can't do this. It's a great undertaking. It's super what we would be looking for. But we're releasing Girls, Girls, Girls.
Yeah. And this is a Motley Crue. This is a Motley Crue promo pic.
That's if you look at the letter that's in there that Steve sent down.
Yes, this is one letter that this one here.
Yeah, and what's in there, they sent down with that picture, which I had kept,
gotcha.
A promo pack for Lorillard cigarettes.
Gotcha.
And, so it was full. But ultimately, Steve, Doug Thaler says, look, Bud, you did a great job. Under normal circumstances, we moved to this.
You got so close, but because of the timing of it, because of Girls, 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 it was going to become such a big song that they had to go with that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And well, they knew what they needed to do, which would contradict what I needed to do, because I needed meet and greets, I needed scrims, I needed backstage, and then and the schmooze stuff. But they would come along, they would put a lot of money into Motley Crue.
And that lead singer, the blonde guy, is the lead singer.
That was Vince Neil.
Yeah, Vince Neil's the blonde guy right there.
Yeah. And he had a TV show too later on. Anyway, it's all the thing. So Doug and I, we shook hands, and I always thought it was part of my rock and roll story that he took a plane, came down, took me to lunch, told me we couldn't do a Sneaky Pete or a Harley Davidson, waved goodbye, took the car out to the airport, caught the next...
You were so close, wow.
Caught the next plane back to New York City.
Unbelievable.
And that was it. But we did obviously stay in touch with each other through the years, and Bon Jovi is still going now. They and Bon Jovi and Richie Sambora, they just put an album out recently, and
I love Motley Crue.
Motley Crue. The only thing that Doug was upset about, like this is years later after this whole thing and everything, is that Bon Jovi had the band, Doug Thaler. Doug Thaler had the band Motley Crue set up for life. He put them in trust fund, this and that, and then he retired out of managing. This other manager comes along for Motley Crue, I think just Motley Crue, and talks them into cashing in their trusts and putting a record out.
Wow.
In fact, it's on Elektra on the picture. I think in the corner, the record company is Elektra. Isn't it on the little?
The little logo on the side.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yep, it says right down here. It says Electra right there. Yep.
So
you're right.
But and that album, they paid for, and Doug, Doug had been previously deals put together. He got the record company to advance money.
Unbelievable.
So that's the way life
Wheeling
is.
and dealing.
Wheeling, life is wheeling and dealing. But Doc McGee, who's McGee Entertainment, who's still around.
Which was this contract here with McGee.
All of that and this is in the, I think it's dated the 70s, isn't it? Somewhere in...
This says June 5th, 1987, this letter here.
So this all was going on in 87.
Gotcha.
And then later on, it was McGee Entertainment. And if you have ever seen Family Jewels on TV, where it was Kiss with the guys from Kiss, they had Doc McGee
Gotcha.
managing them.
Gotcha.
And that's how far along it was. But, they all were there when they needed to be. And unfortunately, like you said, it was timing. Had the timing been different, they would have been the voice of Sneaky Pete condoms, and they would have had the Harley Davidson cigarettes to sell and pay them money.
Unbelievable.
So there you go, dollar short.
It was just the timing, all timing.
All the timing, that's it.
All right. Thank you, Bud. Appreciate it.
No problem.